Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name is Emily Hanhan. I love colorful makeup and colorful language. And today I'm here with a video idea that I got directly from Kelly Gooch. She just uploaded a video very recently titled Palettes I Wish Were Singles, only wanting a shade or two from the palette. And I love single eyeshadows, and I have this tendency to enjoy them and lean on my collection of singles more than my palettes. And her video really made me start thinking about palettes that I've seen that I've held off on buying, and some that I've totally clowned myself and bought because of one or two shades. And I thought I would just talk through some that I don't own, some that I do own, and share some makeup thoughts. This also became very clearly a My Green Monster kind of video because so many of the palettes that I'm going to talk about right now are in that green family. So if you're a green eyeshadow lover, welcome. Let's chat. So the very first palette that came to mind, and I think it's because it's one that Kelly mentioned as well, is the Juvia's Place Tribe palette. Oh, this goes straight into that green love. The Tribe palette, Juvia's Place, is like ridiculously affordable. So yes, could I just pick this palette up and depot it and have singles? Sure, but that's kind of a pain in the ass. I've depotted a number of Juvia's palettes, and I don't really want to spend money to specifically depot something. But the Tribe palette, the greens, that really vibrant yellow green, the grass green, and even the shimmer champagne shade. A couple of the shades in there really have drawn me in, and I would buy that palette for just those like 3 shades, but it has all the warm tones and I just don't want those. I don't use them. I have really good high quality warm tones and I don't use them. So there are a lot of shadows that Juvia's has come out with in the past that I just wish they would release as singles, as a single eyeshadow lover. Tribe, though, is at the very top of the list. And speaking of another 9-pan palette that is greens and warm tones that I really stared at for a long time, is the Colored Rain Safari Rain palette. I know Colored Rain's formula is fantastic, and I really wish that they would build their singles collection, because they do sell single shadows. And the like shimmery olive green, the matte green, the matte like teal, I think it is. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful palette, and supposedly it's coming back in May, so I might play myself and buy it depending on how the world is holding up then. But oh, I just want Colored Rain. I want you to do more green singles because that olive. So when I was making this list, I had a couple of brands that I feel like popped up as like, on a whole, I don't vibe with the full palettes they put out. I want like certain corners of the palettes, and Melt Cosmetics is right at the top of that list. For the very longest time, I just wanted Melt to release Mochi and Goals as singles. The weird, funky yellow-green matte, and I actually don't like, I've only used this palette a couple of times, but I actually like the shimmer green that's in there. The other shimmer is trash. So many other colors I wouldn't use or I already have in my collection. These were the 2 colors that I just kept staring at pictures of this palette for. And I was fortunate enough to get this sent to me through a declutter. So I'm happy I had it, but like, can we just, I just wanted these as singles. That's all. And one of these days I might just pop those out and pass along the rest of the palette if anybody wants it, because these are magnetized pans, so you can do that. Yeah, this, I understand why people love this color story, but I would have totally fallen head over heels for just like a 4-pan green palette or just some singles. And speaking of greens, the Melt Vita palette. The greens and yellows at the end of that palette, again, honestly, if Melt launched a monochromatic green palette, which I think would be completely repetitive now within their collection, but I would be very tempted by it because I do think that Melt has a way with colors that I understand their hype, even if I don't have that much experience with it. But in terms of like singles, I would just love to be able to get some of their shadows as singles, mostly greens, as I've said. So another color that I've always wanted since I first saw the palette is El Malacon in the original Alamar palette, the Reina del Caribe Volume 1 eyeshadow palette. From the moment I saw this palette launched, I was like, can you just, I want this. I want this one. Again, I don't want warm tones. I don't really want these colors. Just this. Oh. Well, again, very fortunately, I got this sent along to me through a declutter. I think it's actually a one-of-a-kind color for me for my collection. It seems very silly to destroy a palette to save one color, but that might be the future of this palette. But if they just had released some singles, I know not everyone's into singles, but this one, this is just such an interesting color. And now I'm thinking like to add this in with the Melt palette greens or any other kind of green color story. Yeah. Now, a palette that I feel like I kind of played myself on, kind of clowned myself on getting, to be completely honest, is the ABH Subculture palette. I got this, the like secretly revamped edition that was in TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And I think ABH is a big, they're a recurring name on my list because they do single eyeshadows, but they don't release singles of their most interesting shades. Electric is the color, again, me and the damn greens. It's just, so I don't know who I said this to, but I feel like Electric is the predecessor to Natasha Denona Lime Chrome. And if I had seen a color like this in the ABH singles, I would spend my money on their overpriced singles. Like, that's the kind of color that I would love to see in their singles collection. And I would like swear I would put money on that I've never seen it in there. It just seems like such a disappointment. I really wish ABH would kind of revamp their singles collection, because I also have from the Emrezy palette Barb, that like pink shadow that has a slight, I think of it as like a gold and green shift to it. I saw it in store once and I thought, that's a pretty color. That's a cool color. And like every once in a while ABH does that for me. I'm not quite as like, I'm not a stan the way a lot of people are, but every once in a while they really nail it. And I wish they would release Barb, Electric. I even think the original Norvina palette, if they had released those as singles, I think I would have put together a little quad of like the pinks and purples that I wanted from the palette. Like there was a shimmering purple, a shimmery pink, a matte purple, and maybe another matte or shimmering pink from the palette. I would have just bought an inexpensive quad to get like the specific colors I wanted rather than getting a bloated palette with a lot of neutrals and then a couple of colors that I wanted. And to me, that's like the strength of singles, is being able to get the colors I'm really drawn to, because I have plenty of filler colors already in my collection. The other thing I really wish ABH would have done is, rather than re-release the whole Nicole Guerrero glow kit as it was, I wish they would have released the colors in singles. Or I wish that they had, this is slightly off from the theme of the video, but I wish they had like released, I wish they had split it up and done a lighter glow kit and a deeper glow kit based on the specific 6 colors that are in her set. Because the palest 3 shades in that palette, I do remember having love for. I ended up like reselling it to somebody that was fanatically, desperately looking for it like a year after it released. So I don't have it anymore. But the peachy color and the pinky color and the white on my, as I call it, my uncooked chicken skin, I remember loving it. But I didn't want to rebuy a 6-pan palette when I was definitely not going to use half the colors. So I wish they'd either release them as singles, like in little compacts that you could buy, or just single pans that you could buy when they relaunch the palette. Or I wish they had revamped that palette to be two 4-pans. So a lighter one and a darker one. And then Nicole and Norvina could have added a new color in each of the 4 pans. But you know, who am I? What ideas do I have? Whatever. Now, the palette that I have in my collection that I wish were released as singles is probably the biggest you played yourself moment. The Natasha Denona Gold palette. This has a little, this has a place in my heart for different reasons. But if Natasha Denona had just released these 4 shades here as singles, maybe even this one down here, Brass, if she'd released these as singles, fuck me up, that's all I would have needed. This, I love this little quad over here for like neutral and funky looks, but I did not need a 15-pan palette for these 4 to 5 shades over here. I definitely played myself the more I think about this palette, but at the same time it happened, whatever. But Natasha, why can't we get singles? Why? I know she does singles, but I don't feel like she did anything related to this palette as singles. It's also possible that I just never researched it, and so I went ahead and got the palette because I never saw singles. But yeah, that quad or those 5 shades, I would have had 10 fewer shadows in my life if she had singles, and I could have just bought those 5. But just proof that like I'm a clown. One last runner-up, a palette that I've talked about repetitively on this channel, but I just wanted to mention it one last time. I don't know if it'll be the last time, but I wanted to mention it here. The palette that I really wanted them to release as singles was the Strobe Cosmetics, now Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette. Now, I know what you're saying. They have singles now. They do. By the time the singles became available, it's like I had sat on the idea of getting those colors and that palette for so long that I just kind of got stuck in my indecision. But I finally decided that I'm going to try to mentally move on from the Creepy Cute palette because I purchased the Menagerie Cosmetics Pastel Pup palette. And hopefully that will satiate all of my pastel shadow desires. But let me tell you, the day I bought that palette, which was already, you know, a less than advisable financial decision in the midst of everything going on, but stress, life happened. That day, I also got an email from Shroud saying Creepy Cute was on sale, and I almost let my makeup goblin take over. My brain had a moment of like, oh, wait, you could compare the two. You could compare Creepy Cute and Pastel Pup. Bitch, no, you do not need a duplicate pastel shadows. And also, I am positive that there are going to be numerous indie makeup lovers that are creating YouTube and Instagram content that will be doing those kinds of videos. So no, you're not doing that. But that was my colorful pastel makeup goblin at like full power. I had to fight it off. I think that's all for now for this concept. I feel like all I do is talk about my singles, but I love them. The thing I feel singles can be so special and unique, and I don't often feel that about shadows that are in palettes. So it's not often that I really see a palette and I'm like, damn it, I can't, I want that, it's so different. Usually it's just the right mix of colors, or hopefully colors and textures. But it's truly rare when I see a palette and think, they fucked up the game and they're doing something new and different. Because palettes are most often done by mainstream brands, and I just don't think that mainstream brands are fucking up the game in that way. But every once in a while you get somebody that just either hits a certain spot for the mix of textures and colors, or just knows how to do a color story that makes my heart go, fuck you, I want that, but I don't want the whole thing. And that's where I've been with all these palettes. So that's some palettes I wish were available as single eyeshadows. Let me know in the comments if there's any palettes on this list that you agree with, or other palettes you would like to see done in singles, certain colors you have your eyes on. If there's anything you would like to see me do a video on, any topic, any theme, anything like that, also feel free to leave that in the comments. And one last request, I think I'm going to do a little bit of a cooking Q&A video. I don't have the kind of setup where I could cook or bake on camera, like kind of set it up over there, but I have some experience working in the food industry, baking as a hobby, cooking as a hobby, writing recipes, all kinds of different things. So if you have questions, it can be something small, it can be something big. I would love for you to leave them in the comments in this video. I also put up a community post, but you can leave it in either spot. And I'm going to try to get a few more questions and do a little video, and hopefully it can be helpful as more of us are cooking at home, because that's what we have to do right now. So again, topics can be anything. If I don't feel like I can answer your question, I'll let you know that, but I'd be happy to help you out if I can. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe and follow along with my colorful shenanigans. I also have a Patreon. I appreciate everybody that is able to throw a little bit extra support during these kind of tough times. Thank you to everybody who has already subscribed, who's already a patron, who's just, you know, watching this video, spending some of your day with me. I appreciate all of you so very much. I hope you're all taking care of yourself, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye, friends. I can has. Hi. Thank you. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Look at you. Thank you.